Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's actually been like a month since I posted long-term content. I haven't been gone fully. I've been posting shorts throughout the, I guess, like month. Long story short, I actually got pretty sick in like the middle of December and I was just not getting any better. I tried filming, but I was just not really sounding the best. And then obviously the holidays came around, and then there was like this period between Christmas and New Year's Day where it's like, do I film something new or should I wait until the new year? And so I kind of like took the time to figure out kind of like a schedule and kind of also queue up, that way I don't miss a day, because I don't like missing, you know, videos. And for the longest time I was posting on Sundays, and then that kind of got ruined, and then I started to move them to Wednesdays, I believe. And so now that I'm back and I'm queued up officially again, I'm going back to Sundays. But yeah, I'm super excited to be back. I have so many new video ideas that I want to do, and I'm currently filming, so I can't wait for you guys to see that. But in today's video, we are actually going to be only reading books in my physical TBR. Now, my physical TBR has been growing a lot, especially with the new books I got for Christmas, and just because there's going to be new releases. And I think this is like the perfect time to just try to just bring it down just a little bit more, because I don't want it to just kind of like pile up to the point where it's just going to be very overwhelming. I don't want to have such a huge TBR, and that's one of my New Year's resolution, is just not buy just books and just keep them there for months. So the first book that we're going to be reading is Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. This is a duology, and this is after Divine Rivals, and I've been waiting for this book since I finished Divine Rivals. It is my favorite book of all time, and I actually made a poll on Instagram to see which book I should tab, because I really don't know. So if you guys want to participate in stuff like that, I highly recommend following me on Instagram. But I can't really say much about this book without giving spoilers, because it is the second and last book in this series. But basically what happens in the first book, there is a war happening with gods, and it's looming throughout that entire book, and it all comes to light in this one. And I know that a lot of people were kind of complaining about the first book, how it didn't really have much about the gods, so I'm guessing we're gonna get that in this one. So yeah, I'm super excited. I can't wait. I love Divine Rivals, and I can't wait to start this one. So without further ado, let's start with Ruthless Vows. So I'm already on page 104. I am literally flying through this book. I love this so much. I've been waiting for this book specifically since I finished Divine Rivals, and I was kind of in between if I should read it as soon as it came out or wait a little bit, because it is just a duology, so this is the last book in this series, and I just didn't want to let it go, because once I do, then you have to say goodbye to the characters. Rebecca has done such an amazing job with the story, with the quotes, with everything that goes on with these two characters. I'm not ready to say goodbye. Honestly, I'm not. And how this is already going, I know that this is just gonna be a really bittersweet goodbye. If this kind of takes a turn where I can't stop reading, then I will probably be binging this book all night long. We'll see if that ends up happening. So I'm gonna continue reading and we shall see. So I finished reading Ruthless Vows last night and I am still unwell. I don't know how I feel about this book because it was so good. It's just so many things happen at the end because it is a duology and this is the last one. Everything had to be wrapped up. I am still very much sad about it, but while we are still sitting with our thoughts with this book, I thought that it would be good to just try to put this aside and read something else and just stop thinking about this book because it has been consuming me all day. We are going to be choosing another book for my physical TBR and I am honestly thinking, why do I want to read this one? I want to read this one just because this is also a duology and I just want to compare them. I don't know why. I've never read a duology before. I've always read kind of like longer series, so I kind of want to compare it. And this is more of like a gothic fantasy and I've never read that as well. Hopefully this will keep me out of thinking about Ruthless Vows. So let's start with this one and see where it goes. Book has a really good balance between the politics, fantasy, and the actual romance. I don't know, I just really am enjoying this book because even though it's not really like romance heavy, I still feel the tension between both characters and I am really loving this book. There's just so much to it and it's such an easy book to start reading. Like I literally started this today and I am almost halfway through this. So she has powers and one of her powers is actually that she has like this voice in her head that talks to her like this monster. She calls him the Nightmare and the back and forth banter between them is so good. It's basically like Taran from Fourth Wing and I like him. He reminds me a lot of Taran when he would be in Violet's head. I am hoping to get through at least halfway, which I'm kind of close to, and I have not thought about Divine Rivals or Ruthless Vows as much, so that's a plus for me. Lola and I are actually going to continue reading and see where it goes. Weather. It is a rainy morning here in Texas, and since we did finish reading One Dark Window, we are going to be reading our next book, which is actually going to be Powerless by Elsie Silver. For me, Jasper has always been a mystery because in the other two books he was just kind of portrayed like this sad guy who had a lot of history and a lot of kind of baggage where he just went through a lot at a young age, and I just been wanting to read that so much and just figure out what happened with Jasper. We are actually going to be reading it on our Kindle just because it is a little chunky and I actually don't really like reading chunky books physically just because they can sometimes be pretty uncomfortable, and my Kindle, I just honestly also read pretty quickly on my Kindle as well. So our two main characters are Jasper and Sloane. He's a hockey player and she is a ballerina, and the main tropes that are in this is basically like runaway bride, friends to lovers, childhood friends, and they've known each other for so long because she is actually cousins with the Eaton brothers, which are the ones that kind of basically took him in. With that being said, we're actually going to start reading Powerless. I can't wait. Like I said, it is pretty gloomy and it's just like the perfect setting to just grab your Kindle and just read while it rains. So yeah, let's actually start with Powerless. finished reading Powerless. It is not the best book that I've read from Elsie Silver. It's definitely my least favorite book out of the entire series. I love Sloane, and she's the only reason why I powered through it, because I was actually very close to DNFing this book. I was just not really getting into it, and I was not getting attached to even their relationship. I felt like a lot of the times it was very one-sided. Sloane was giving him her entire heart, and he would kind of like backtrack a lot of the times, where it just felt really confusing because he would also kind of like make a move on her, but then like he'll backtrack, and that's just not something that I enjoy reading about. And just seeing this poor girl like clearly having feelings for you and you kind of giving it to her back, but then you're just backtracking. But yeah, there were really cute parts though. I really do think that other people would enjoy this book. It's just, I guess it's not really my cup of tea, and it was just dragged out way too much, and some of the scenes were very repetitive. So in the end, I do give Powerless a 3.5. It's not a bad book, but it's also not the best. But to close out this video, in the beginning we did read Ruthless Vows, and obviously this is gonna be a 5 stars. Honestly, if I could, I would give it even 6, 7, 8, 10 stars. Honestly, I like the way it was written. Everything that happened for a reason, and I really trusted Rebecca with how she was going to continue this plot with this book, and she delivered. If you guys haven't read Divine Rivals yet, please do. It's so good. It's so worth it. It is a series that I will remember for the rest of my life, and I just love it so much. So highly recommend. The next book that we read was One Dark Window, and this one was completely different from any other fantasy books that I've ever read. And like, I'm used to like fays, fairies, dragons, vampires, and the magic system in this was completely different. So I really do think that if you kind of want like a palate cleanser from every other like traditional fantasy books that you've read, I really highly recommend this one. I don't think that I actually explained what this book was about. So this is basically about Elspeth and how when she was younger she was actually infected with the flu, and if you do get infected, you either get killed or you kind of like go somewhere to kind of like be kind of like an experiment to see what this infection is. And so she gets infected, but because her dad is kind of like up in like the higher rankings, she was able to get away with it and kind of be on the low. And when she did get infected, she kind of got this thing in her head where it's not really like a voice, but it's more of like a person that was living in her head and just talking to her, and like when she needed help, he would kind of like take over her body. I think that we're gonna know more about what it is in the next book, because it does leave in a cliffhanger a little bit. The romance in this is not heavy, but there is tension, and kind of like towards the end he starts falling for her even more, and it just kind of reminded me of Roman, of how he would do anything for Iris, and this main character would do anything for Elspeth. And I don't know, just their interactions and them talking to each other was so good. And yeah, I highly recommend this one. I had such an amazing time reading this, and if you guys are kind of like me where this book has been sitting on your physical TBR for the longest, this is your sign to finally go grab it, because this has been sitting there for so long, and I'm just so happy that I was able to start reading this, because it was so crazy and nothing like I've ever read before. This is actually going to be a 4.5. I don't think it could have done anything different for it to be a 5-star. I just don't think that it was meant to be my 5 stars, but I do think that it's a really good solid 4.5. With that being said, we tackled a pretty good amount of books. I am so close to finishing the Chestnut Spring series, and we did finish a series, so I'm so happy with that. But yeah, that concludes today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, night, whatever time you guys are watching this, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.